The National Economic Council says it is time to kick out the old ways of livestock farming in Nigeria in the wake of security challenges in some part of the country. And the acting national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Mr. Umaru Damagum, has responded to the defections in Delta State as the governor and some leaders of the party, a major structure of the PDP, moved to the APC. Hello everyone, welcome to the program. This is Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Wakimale here in Abuja. Well, let's begin with the crisis in one party, although there is one other party that is farming and harvesting from the crisis in other political parties. Let's talk about one party that has been swimming in this crisis, which is the Labour Party. And there's been a lot of debate about the leadership of the party. And the Julius Abure faction of the party is saying that the judgment of the Supreme Court has never sacked him, nor replaced him with that of Nanadi Usman as the national chairman of the party. Mr. Abure will address a press conference in Abuja through the National Publicity Secretary of the party, Mr. Obiora Efo, called on the 2023 presidential candidate of the party, Mr. Peter Obi, and the governor of Abia State, Alex Oti, to join forces with him to move the Labour Party forward.
The position of Labour Party, after critically reviewing the Supreme Court judgment delivered on the 4th of April 2025, and states as follows. 1. The Supreme Court, contrary to speculations, actually reaffirmed the National Convention of the party held on the 27th of March 2024 at Inewi, where it stated thus: the reason for the non-justiciability of internal disputes of a political party is simple, and that is that in the eyes of the law, a political party is a corporate entity with its constitution, rules, regulations, and guidelines, which are binding on all members, who, having joined freely, have consented to be so bound. Number 2, the internal affairs of a political party can be defined as matters, situations in which only the political party, to the exclusion of others, can make decisions.
That's Obiora Efo speaking on behalf of the Julius Abure faction of the leadership of the Labour Party. Tonight, I have one man. When he speaks, of course, a lot of knowledge comes out of him. And there seems to be that when you are on the side that is winning in the moment, there's some kind of jubilation on their side. But I heard today that their jubilation should not last for too long, because there are other side that said they will cash in, and in fact, there are those who are waiting to defect from the APC, and I'm hearing that they are going to be in huge numbers. I'll be speaking with one of the governors of the APC tonight on the program, but that's going to be after we return from this break, everyone.
The Nigeria Governors Forum met in Abuja with their discussion focused on rising insecurity and the need for innovative security initiative to tackle the menace. The agenda on security comes on the heels of recent killings and resurgence of terrorist attacks by Boko Haram insurgents and other armed groups across some states in the country. The meeting, which received a brief from the Chief of Defense Staff, considers the deployment of advanced technology and infrastructure to improve surveillance. The Governor of Imo State briefs journalists after the meeting.
The forum received a presentation from the Chief of Defense Staff on an innovative security initiative aimed at strengthening national and sub-national capacity for early threat detection and coordinated response.
The chairman of the Progressive Governors Forum and Governor of Imo State, Mr. Hope Uzodinma, has applauded the defection of the Governor of Delta State, Mr. Sheriff Oborewori, and some PDP stakeholders as a healthy development for the nation's politics. Addressing journalists in Abuja after a meeting of the forum held behind closed doors, Mr. Uzodinma says the defection of the governor and his predecessor, Senator Ifeanyi Okowa, into the APC is as a result of the positive leadership of the nation by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Some of our colleagues that were not produced by our party have seen the efforts of the government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu and have decided to join us so that together we can build a more united and prosperous Nigeria.
Civil society organizations under the aegis of peace, security, and national development are asking the federal government to beef up security across the country following recent attacks in some states. At a news conference in Abuja, the president of National Youth Council of Nigeria, Mr. Solomon Adodo, says the call has become necessary in view of the renewed attacks in Plateau, Benue, and Kwara states. While appreciating security agencies for the sacrifice they have made in restoring peace in the affected states, they are also urging the Chief of Defense Staff and the Inspector General of Police to identify and fish out those responsible for the attacks. The governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in September 21, 2024 governorship election in Edo State, Asue Ighodalo, says defeat at the polls have turned out to be a blessing in disguise. Mr. Ighodalo explained that watching the political terrain from outside since then has taught him a lot of lessons in humility, which will enable him be a better leader once the governorship mandate is reclaimed at the courts. He was speaking at a critical stakeholders meeting of the Edo PDP at the party secretariat in Benin City, the state capital. Former Edo State Governor Lucky Benedion, former PDP national leader Tommy Kimi were among party stalwarts at the event.
We must learn that loyalty appropriately, godly loyalty pays. And I thank you all. Henceforth, in this our great party, we will restructure, re-strengthen, and refocus the party.
In River State, some women of Opobo Kingdom in River State took to the streets in peaceful protest, demanding the return of their suspended governor, Siminalayi Fubara, whom they say they voted for. The protesters rejected the appointment of a sole administrator in River State, led by the president of Opobo Women Association, OWA, Felicia Pepple. The women expressed deep disappointment over the 6-month suspension of Governor Fubara following the declaration of state of emergency in River State. Lastly, members of the Progressive Lecturers Network, comprising lecturers across the 7 tertiary institutions in River State, have thrown their weight behind the declaration of a state of emergency in the state. In a communique read by their president, Dr. Wiri Thankgod, after an emergency congress in Port Harcourt, the academic group commended the president for what they termed a decisive intervention that restored peace in a state that was almost at the point of explosion.
And there you have it. You've been served with your political roundup stories. So many people have been talking about what they saw yesterday in Delta State, and the leadership of the party, the PDP, has described the defection of the governor of Delta State, Sheriff Oborewori, and others in the state as least expected, as the party has done the state well since its inception. At the acting national chairman of the PDP, Mr. Umar Damagum, states that the presentation of certificate of return to the party's candidate in the forthcoming election in Anambra State, where he spoke, he said, place the future of the party in the hands of God, says the fate of the PDP in the 2027 general election will not be determined by the number of governors it has, as it will be a fight between the masses and the ruling APC and its policies.
It's very sad and unfortunate, because to me, if there's any state that should think that way, not Delta, because the party is very magnanimous. I thank God that in their message they didn't say that the party did anything wrong to them other than good. It's a decision taken by them, but the pains will be in us. Not because of anything, but because we felt we have given all responsible support that we are supposed to give to Delta State, from the emergence of the governor to his predecessor, who also doubled as our vice presidential candidate. I think we have done it all for them in Delta, and we least expected this action from them.
All right, that's a response from the PDP leadership today. So today there was a congregation of leaders, governors and some ministers, and led by the Vice President Kashim Shettima. Interestingly, it was the administrator of Rivers State, retired Vice Admiral Ibok Iba's first appearance. It's a debut appearance at the National Economic Council meeting, which held at the presidential villa. Mr. Ibas is making his appearance after his appointment as the administrator for Rivers State by President Bola Tinubu following the suspension of Governor Simon Lai Fubara in March of this year. Vice President Kashim Shettima presided over the meeting, which had in attendance governors and quite a number of deputy governors from across the 36 states of the Federation. Governor Sheriff Oborivori, who perhaps don't now wear the PDP toga, is also appearing for the first time at the NEC meeting as an APC governor. Well, at that meeting, the council kicked against the current livestock rearing system in Nigeria, saying there is a need to change it from the old ways to modern practice. The meeting comes amidst the spate of attacks in parts of the country, including in Plateau, Benue, and Kwara State, where scores of citizens have been killed by suspected gunmen. Well, today, briefing after the meeting was the governor of Bayelsa State, Doye Diri, who says that the need to work towards modernizing livestock production in Nigeria is now highly imperative. Take a listen to him.
A presentation from the Honorable Minister for Livestock Development and Growth. And his presentation has to be dealing with on the strategies of accelerated livestock growth. And he had a plan of doing that from now up until even 2030. And the strategy is built on the National Livestock Growth Acceleration Strategy, which refines and extends it to transform the sector into an international jobs, wealth creation, exports, and internally generated revenue engine room. The presentation projected that the strategy will build up to 74 billion down to $90 billion in that sector by the year 2035.
Bayelsa State Doye Diri was briefing after a meeting. So if you look at where we have seen the crisis recently within the North Central State, it does look like the middle belt of the country is now in some kind of security trouble. Plateau, Kwara, Benue State. One of their colleagues tonight, the governor of Nasarawa, which has part of his state bordering some of the state, joins us live on the program. His Excellency, Governor of Nasarawa State, Abdullah Sule, thank you so much indeed for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much for having me.
The region is seems to be engulfed. Your colleague governor says that the each state is under siege. And it does look like that same description coming from yet another governor who has spoken to us on this program. Their description is as though the region is encircled and engulfed by these strange people. How troubling is this?
The protection of the lives and the welfare of the people is the #1 responsibility of every government. So once a governor is challenged by security, believe me, there are so many things that will come out of him. Maybe sometimes he will say, oh, sorry, that's not even what I meant. We just finished our meeting now, about 30 minutes ago, of the North Central Governors Forum after the next meeting. And the governor of Plateau was there, and we discussed these issues. I was with the governor of Benue both yesterday and today, and we were also discussing these same issues. It's a challenging period anytime you have a situation where people are killed, and then you go in there, you visit the area, you see the trauma that people are going through, and that's how you come up with those kind of statements that you are under siege, you are under this. So as I said, we just finished discussing them, and yesterday you saw also at the NGF meeting, we invited the CDS, General Musa, and we discussed again at length with him. And out of all the discussion, you see, we're having these problems in the North Central, we're having them in the Northeast, we're having in the Northwest. What can we do? How can we come to your aid? What do you want from us? So those were the kinds of meetings that we have had. We started with Progressive Governors meeting, we went to Nigerian Governors Forum, we went to NEC this morning, and then we concluded just now with the North Central Governors meetings. And in all these meetings, you know, issue of security were discussed at length. But I don't think it is somehow new for us. This is an accumulation of a long-time challenge that we have had. You know, issue of security have been in the country, you know, for close to 20 years now. You know, and as a result of that, you continue to have these kinds of issues that they will come on and off. For instance, now, when you say Plateau State is under siege, I remember one of the statements made by the governor just this evening. He said, where exactly are some of these bandits and the killers? And so where are they staying in Plateau? Because it's part of the strategy. And he said, they don't have resident people. Instead, they have some of these attackers, you know, that will come and attack and run to some places. For security reasons, I cannot mention the places he mentioned because of the action we are going to take in some of those things. So when a situation is like that, it's not yet under siege. You can't say under siege may be a very, very tough statement to make. But as I said, you can't blame the governor who is going through tough time at that moment, you know, for making any one of those kind of statements. But action is being taken, and we'll succeed at the end of the day.
You look at the local governments such as Katsina in Benue, Logo local government in Benue. I mean, Logo local government is bordering Taraba, and you have local governments also directly sitting on the borders of Nasarawa State. And you look at Plateau, and there are several other local governments also that are bordering, you know, so there is an intertwining. And interestingly, the North Central region is sandwiched in the heart of the nation. And what is affecting one part of the country has a tendency. I remember that there was a time that Abuja was heavily under attacks, and it was affecting part of the local government in Nasarawa State. And so you have to be your brother's keeper in this sense, because a few times the governors had mentioned your name and they are talking to you and in their state. And somehow you may have also seen the handwriting, felt it in some part of your territory in your state. If I may describe or draw how these governors describe these invaders in their land, they will look like non-Nigerians who had AK-47 and bazooka on their shoulder and with cattle in their front. That is the kind of picture they painted to me. Like, these people are not Nigerians. They speak language not really very much understandable by Nigerians. They come into their land, take over their land, and they're farming and they're taking over and mining in those lands. Is that a situation that we find around that area? Is that what you discovered in your meetings?
You see, so every state has its own peculiar security challenge. It's not a common problem all over the place. For instance, during our meeting, we discovered that there is a common problem between Niger and Kwara, and they are taking an action, a joint operation together. We found out that there is a problem right now between, at the border of Nasarawa, and then the local government you were trying to mention, actually the local government of the governor in Plateau, that is Bokos. So between Bokos, his local government, Wamba local government in Nasarawa State, which is neighboring local government with my own local government of Akwanga, and then Taraba. Also, we have to take a joint operation in that particular area. Those are the kinds of things that are happening. But you see, the problem we have in that particular place is different completely from the problem we had in Bassa, where the other attack, the latest attack as far as Plateau is concerned, had taken place. You remember, Plateau and Nasarawa used to be the same, so I'm very familiar with all these places. You know, those are the kinds of challenges. But as I said, the lengthy discussion we had with the general yesterday has shown that we must introduce more of resources in form of technology, in form of people, you know, to support the military in order for us. And then the biggest of them all in form of communication. You know, so we need to be able to assist the military with more communication, with more information. So that's the only way that they will be able to achieve this. And I think that's what we decided we are going back to do.
So when the governor of Benue State was describing how these elements come into the state, similar to the manner in which the governor of Plateau State also described it, he said they were on motorbikes, about 200-300 of them, troop into the community. And it does look to me, when I spoke with interestingly, the vice president, who was the governor of Borno State, Kashim Shettima, or speak with Governor Zulum, the description looked like what we saw in Borno State on the northeastern region of the country, and how these terrorists attack. They come on motorbikes in a very difficult terrain, and they move in and out. But you know, the interesting thing about the north central region problem, and how it's a bit different from the northeast, is because they were leaving the shores of the country, the borders of the country. But these guys, these terrorists, are invading the north central region. They are in the country. Wherever they go, they're sandwiched in the country. How difficult is it to identify these people?
Well, it's not that difficult to identify them because they speak a different kind of Fulfulde. You see, when they speak, because they don't...
They look Fulani.
They look Fulani.
They had Fulani.
They had Fulani outlook.
But their Fulfulde is
but the way they don't speak Hausa. Okay, so, and we have a lot of videos of them. You know, sometimes they are gusty enough to actually be taken, to be recording their operations. You know, and when they do that, they send the videos, and sometimes...
We understand that even on TikTok.
Yeah, intelligence are able to give us some of those videos, and then you can see clearly that some of those people are that. But you see, as I said, it is not all the problems that we have. The problem of Mahmuda in Kwara, it's not the same problem with those people. You have just mentioned about the people that were killed. It's not the problem of those people that you are talking about, you know, that are speaking this kind of language. These people, you have to consider what is happening in their countries. Right now, the Republic of Niger, you know, is having its own a lot of security challenges, economic challenges, security challenges, and some of these people cross over.
Are we able to profile their country if we are not able? I mean, some say they're Malians, some say they are Nigerians. But I mean, we cannot be helpless and not be able to at least identify our ops, I mean, opposition. Well, I think the security agencies are the best to answer that, because they are able sometimes to do that, and sometimes they are able, also tell us to be careful what they tell us and what we say and what we disclose and things like that. You know, so they are in a better position to tell you which particular nation they are from. But, you know, those countries you are talking about, all the way to Senegal, you know, if you look at it, the people look alike.
from Mali, Senegal, Burkina Faso, Niger, Chad, and the rest of that, they look more or less alike. So it's very difficult for anybody to identify and say, oh, they are from Mali.
But does it worry you, Governor, that they are now taking oath, they're chasing people out of their territories and they're now manning and living in those areas?
They are not living in those areas, Sheun. It is, the way it's being reported sometimes, like I said, the governor of Plateau just told me 45 minutes ago that actually they were not resident in Plateau. They come from one or two places and then they attack and they go back to such places. So evidently their base is not in Plateau. Sometimes also some of these people that you see in Benue, in most cases on their way, when Otom was the governor, during my first tenure, there were many times I received intelligence that I saw a lot of these people crossing Nasarawa State, coming from southern Kaduna, crossing Nasarawa State, and we monitor them. But they don't stop in Nasarawa State, they go to Benue. Two reasons why they go to Benue. Number one is actually the river, especially during the dry season. So River Benue is an attraction for some of those people. The kind of feeding for some of these herders is also a place. And sometimes they go looking for trouble. Because at the time, River Benue, the state of Benue had this anti-open grazing law. And they believe, it was against them, it was this, and, so those kinds of things, But this was during the first tenure. When this governor came, he relaxed all those conditions. So we are not seeing a lot of them now crossing from Nasarawa State into that. Instead, you see them coming from the other side of the river. Most of these borders we have, are very porous. It is very difficult to protect the Nigerian border. From Niger, from Chad, from Cameroon, from all these people actually.
Well, is it not strange that they are en route on foot? 8 hour, 10 hour, from Kaduna to Benue is about 10 hour, 9 hour road trip, and they do this on foot.
No, well, you just mentioned they are on 200 motorcycles. You remember? You just mentioned that, and that's why I didn't say anything, because you are correct. You can monitor them sometime that they are on 100 motorcycles, 200 motorcycles, sometimes 3 of them on a motorcycle, this and that. They do that. So they are not all on foot. Those who carry out the attack sometimes are not on foot. But those who are pushing the cattle and the herders and the rest of that, those are the kinds of people actually that go on foot.
Give us an understanding of your resolution, because out of the 36 states, we understand about 35 of you and your colleagues have signed up on the state policing concept. And we wonder that this is now the time to effectively utilize the window in tackling local, because like you said, the Kwara problem is different from the Benue problem. Benue problem might look like the Plateau problem, but it's slightly different. And what you are experiencing in Nasarawa might be slightly different from what we are even experiencing in the FCT. Correct. So the security architecture needs to be designed in such a way that it fits into the local climate and the architecture perfectly. What have you now decided as governors in your meetings as to how to diligently monitor your territory effectively to protect the people?
Okay, well, you first asked the question about the state police, which coincidentally was an item to be discussed today. But today was one of the best, when it comes to the items, the presentations, was one of the best NEC meetings I have personally attended.
Is it because the opening prayers was said by Governor Boribori?
Okay, that's one of them. But the main issue actually is the items that were discussed were apt. They had direct bearing on the lives of the people. We discussed about the issue of this. You have just shown it in the news about the livestock that you have mentioned, about agriculture that we have discussed today, about technical education and skill acquisition that we discussed. All the issues that were being presented were issues that have direct bearing on the lives of the people. So because of all the issues discussed, and it was taken over 4 hours, I think we stepped down the issue of the state police. But the state police matter was on the item, and like you rightly mentioned, 35 states have already and for your information, majority of the states have agreed that There should be a state police. So as far as NEC is concerned, I think we're ready to go in that area.
So I'm wondering, how then, what should we as Nigerians be expecting? And I'm going to come to the issue of livestock farming, which I'm very certain that the governors and the leaders have identified that that's one of the problems. This issue of grazing and livestocking, itinerant livestocking, which doesn't make sense as far as a lot of people now think.
Exactly.
In terms of consolidating on the security architecture of this country, how soon? Well, because it's an urgent matter. It can no longer wait.
Well, it cannot wait. That's the reason why the decisions are being taken, and you see a lot of aggressiveness about meetings to do this. Can we look at that? Can we look at? Sometimes I feel sorry actually for our security agencies, because yesterday we were holding the General Musa, and I know he had meetings all day. We held him until midnight. Yesterday having one meeting after another with him, and every time new issues will be coming up. Is it technology? Is it more equipment that we are going to do? Is it manpower? Do we actually give more people, to you, so that you can have joint operation? Because for us in Nasarawa, we have had several joint operations, police, army, and our own vigilante on ground. Because that's one thing that we have been able to be very successful in, even dislodging the Dar es Salaam. Because the dreaded Dar es Salaam that were in Toto, if not for the local people from Toto that helped the military and the police and the civil defense to go into that area, probably would not have been able to dislodge them. So, and I think that's what every state is trying to do now. So when the state police thing comes in, it will be a little bit easier to implement, because every state now is engaging some kind of local security or the other. So transforming that into the real police is not going to be as difficult as if we are starting afresh.
Now, the question I'm going to be also worried about is what you mean by state policing, because people have said state policing, but they meant different things. What will it mean? Is it the Amatekun in the southwest and giving them guns to operate, or is it the Ebubeagu, or in the southeast? And what exactly does state policing mean?
You see, the absence of the state police is what brings about all these names that you are bringing about. If there is a uniform, because right now when you say police, it's police. Everybody knows that's the police. That's the federal structure of police. Everyone knows that. Now, if you say this is what is going to be decentralized, so it is police, quite all right, with the same authority, the same equipment, same kind of education, knowledge, experience, and so like the federal police, but only that they are being controlled in the state and they are local and they understand what is happening within the local community, similar to the vigilante that I'm telling you. Because most of the vigilante and all the Amotekun that you are talking about, you see, they are limited. They are limited in what they can do. They are limited in what kind of weapon they can carry. They can't carry what the regular policeman is carrying, and things like that. And those are the challenges that we are facing. So when you say state police, you are talking of police with the same kind of authority, the same kind of training, same type of understanding as the federal police.
So the idea would be, when you talk about state policing, is something similar to the United States.
Correct.
Is that what we are supposed to expect?
Exactly.
Where in Nasarawa State you have Nasarawa State Police.
Exactly.
And perhaps you have also Akwangal LGA. Kind of...
we are not going to go down to that level yet, because if you have gone down to that level... like,
if we're saying United States.
No.
So, the sheriff, in the
United States,
state police and the federal police.
In the United States, it took a lot of time before we get to that level. In fact, the university I attended, Indiana State, there is Indiana State University Police. There is Terre Haute Police, the city. There is the Virgo County, which is like the local government police. There is Indiana Police, which is actually the police of the state. And of course, there are the sheriff that you talk about. So you have different categories. But in Nigeria, you are taking one step at a time. We say we want state police first. I don't think we are ready to go down to the level of local government police, town police, and now organization police, and the rest of that. I don't think we are down there yet.
We have less than 500,000 official personnel of security agencies in the country, of guarding and securing over 200 million people.
Correct.
There are those who will say is highly insufficient, grossly insufficient.
Definitely.
The president has said in his campaign, it's a campaign promise. Definitely. He said he will put more boots on the ground to fight insecurity. But I'm not sure there has been any move in that direction.
No,
Do you remind the president?
No. There is a move in that. There has been a lot of employment within the police force. I remember even before the last IG left, there were over 10,000 new police that were employed, and then they said they were going to phase it. There will be another 10,000 this, there are 10,000 this that they were going to engage. So there has been some employment within the police force. Now, like you rightly mentioned, it's not enough, because as you are employing, some of them are leaving, are retiring. Some of them are no longer in the police. Some people die, and things like that. So because of that, we have not seen the impact. So I think until one day when we say we are going to employ 300,000 policemen, not 10,000, not 15,000, that's when I think you will see this impact that you are talking about.
And I read the story of the IG asking that the mobile police force should be withdrawn from VIP protection, and is actually restructuring them because those days the Mopos used to be very feared. A lot of people fear them because they were very good in civil protection and all of that. But all of this also has to do with the resilience of our security agencies in tackling whatever they're being tasked to do.
Correct.
But I need to go on the break, Governor. I'm concerned about the issue of livestock farming, what you decided on. We have a livestock ministry, and which a lot of Nigerians will think we should have been seeing a lot of traction in that direction. What the governors and the National Economic Council discuss in terms of grazing and livestock farming in Nigeria, how it interrelates with security in this country gets our attention next. But of course, there is an APC governor in the house, and he's going to be boastful about how his party has been farming and harvesting other governors from other political parties. He's a leader in his party. I'll be hearing next after this break, everyone. And us again. So much, everyone, for staying with us. So the news we've got is Mr. Festus Keyamo, the Minister of Aviation, has met with the striking workers of NIMET today, and what he's been asking them is how they will end call of the strike and allow the aviation sector to resume. The meeting has held over the last few hours and just finished a few moments before we got into the studio. The Minister of Aviation, Festus Keyamo, has had a meeting with NIMET striking workers who have down tools over grievances in the manner of their welfare and other allied workers-related payment. All right, let's get back to our conversation with Governor Abdullahi Sule, Nasarawa State Governor. Thanks so much indeed for your time. Livestocking, and now it's become a problem. What did you identify as a key problem that links to security? Because security was what led to that conversation, isn't it?
Well, to be fair is to say not necessarily. I remember we took a decision on this in my first 4 years in office. I think 4 years ago. We took a decision that the current manner of grazing is outdated. It's uneconomical. It's not even good for the cow. To take a cow and start dragging a cow from here all the way to Lagos or to Port Harcourt or from Maiduguri to Kano or the rest of that, the cow itself is tired. You don't get the economic value of the cow. You don't get the necessary milk that you are supposed to get. Instead, they are getting approximately 2 liters instead of getting about 9 or 10 liters, 12 liters that other states are getting, other countries are getting. So we look at all this and say that we are going to go into grazing, and that's the best thing to do. And I'm happy to tell you that indeed Nasarawa State was the first that we used the NLTP. When we started the National Livestock Transformation Plan, it was actually launched in Nasarawa State as a pilot project. And that's the reason why we are still discussing that today. We went into that, but that one had 3 legs of relationship. You have the Netherlands government, the office of the Vice President then, and then Ministry of Agriculture. It was being led, I think, by Dr. Kwasari, at the time being managed. So now it has been modernized, updated, and that's why you have the new livestock problem. But it is all in line with ensuring that the old-fashioned or the current way of doing grazing is outdated, is uncalled for. Let us go into that for several reasons that I have mentioned. Even if you want to get more meat from the cow, it is better for the cow to be rested, to have the right type of feeding that you have. Those are the kinds of things. So those were the reasons. But then the bigger, the other angle of it is indeed security. Because when you allow this cow to go on the wild just anyhow, definitely that's how they run into some farmers, and then you have the insecurity challenge that we are facing at the moment.
Part of the mandate and the reasons, there was a 21 reasons or recommendations made to the federal government, which was one of the reasons why the livestock ministry was created, and part of it was to stop the farmer herders crisis. Correct. And part of it was also to create a special grazing reserves. As any of those started, as a governor, you should be able to feel it. You have said that Nasarawa said is piloting part of that idea, but in all, what a lot of Nigerians will expect when they saw a livestock ministry was that in no time, Nigeria is supposed to, just like we saw Netherlands, Picnic, and the rest of them, how they've been able to cash in on production of milk in parts of the country. And you've asked WAPCO, is it WAMCO or WAPCO, who are those in the production of milk and all that. Nigerians were expecting that we'll be having in no time exportation of livestock produce out of Nigeria. But we've not seen so much of traction.
And that's the same reason why I was telling you that even when we started with a pilot project, at the time there were 5 states that were lining up, to be started, and Nasarawa State was launched, during the period. And in fact, most of these ambassadors of Netherlands, of UK, this and that, they all came to Nasarawa then during the launch because everybody was looking forward to a final solution. But then it had a big hiccup, and then we ran into the campaign for 2023 and into the election. And as I said, right now, by the time new administration came in, then it is modernized, it's changed. So it is taking time. Now, on the current one that has just been done, that is being chaired by Professor Tairu Jega that you mentioned, that one, they are still putting together what is required to be done, and then the funding. All these things are not cheap. You need to provide the funding. And part of the funding, there is also a PPP arrangement. So those who are experts in it, Brazil is assisting. Brazil is participating in this. So they are coming with their knowledge. They are coming also with the funding. So all those funding arrangements have to be structured. Which state is going to take part of it? What states are going to be the pilot? So those are the kinds of things that are being discussed at the moment. They take a little bit of time to be able to conclude.
It's interesting. What do you think will be a significant difference if this is properly driven?
If it is driven, one, we are going to see huge improvement and development of the livestock itself. Like you mentioned, you mentioned about WAMCO, you mentioned about all the milk that you have seen, this and that. When you go to Brazil, you will definitely see the improvement. You will see that's why we go to South Africa to import their cows. So instead of importing, you will be able to raise those kind of cows locally, because they are kept in one place. They are well rested. They eat the right food. They drink the right kind of water, not any kind of water they find on the way. So everything is actually arranged and planned and well organized. So as a result of that, you will see great improvement in the area. So there will be economic value. Even the owners of the cattle are going to be happier. They are going to be much happier because they will have more wealth. A cow now that they sell for 350,000, 400,000, then they will be selling it for 800,000 naira because it's no longer, they sell some of them according to the weight of the cow, how it weighs. So those are the kinds of improvement that they will see. And for us on humanity also, it's better for the cow.
But how do you change the culture though of someone who was born itinerant? he was born into a culture of moving from one place to the other.
It is not that they are born to move. They are also suffering. Nobody wants to continue moving by leg
you were born
from here to here.
With a certain psychology, psychology that if you don't move your cows or cattle around.
You see, I made this comment earlier when we say anti-open grazing law. If the government is coming in to make this provision for when we did it in Nasarawa, they all move in there. You see, if you tell a Fulani person, we are going to have a livestock development plan for you, there will be school, there will be water, there will be security, that there is the kind of food that your cows are going to eat, this is that. Who wants to suffer in this world? No Fulani wants to suffer.
Are they adhering with it?
A lot of them came and stayed in that area. We trained about 30 of them. 30 different families.
Is it working?
It worked then. But then the funding cut off. It was the funding that actually stopped it to the point where even some of the trainers were not paid their fees. So that's how it actually ended. But it was a program developed, as I said, by 3 different levels. It was a PPP arrangement. The federal government was part of it, Office of the Vice President. The federal government was part of it as Ministry of Agriculture, and then, of course,
But the major problem is the killings that happen because of the clashes between, which has become almost a generational issue.
Correct.
Would that also be resolved?
Definitely. Because if they are just in one place, then they are not moving into anybody's farm. In a grazing reserve, you don't have a farm there.
Let me ask you quickly, what has happened to the oil exploration since 2023? You set up a committee in 2024 in Nasarawa State, in Benya and OBLGA. What has happened to that?
We set up the committee mainly for the committee to be able to monitor what is happening in the villages so that we don't have the same problems we're having in the Niger Delta today. To be able to maintain a good relationship with the operators who are drilling in the area, to be able to come back. But oil and gas operation, I keep saying, is a different ballgame altogether. And that's an area I can sit here and talk to you for 10 hours, because that's my own background. Yeah. So what they were doing was just drilling the exploration well. They had not yet drilled the other exploration well for testing and appraisal. Then they will drill a development well. At that moment, that's when you now raise the funding. And that's the reason why none of them in the north has taken off. Even though they had a fantastic plan, the NMPC. The plan was an integrated field development where everything will be done in that location. Nothing will be piped into a terminal, in the either Boni or Kwaibo or this. Everything will be done there, including refining. So it was a fantastic plan, but also an expensive plan. Because you have to build the refinery, you have to build the fertilizer plant, you have to generate the power.
There's a lot of hydrocarbon potentials.
No, of course, if there are no potentials of hydrocarbons, they won't even get into the activity in the first place. All of these, both Kolmani, Lake Chad, and the one in Nasarawa, Ebenie, both of them all have great hydrocarbon potentials. They have already done their own survey. They done their 3D, and they discovered that actually there is oil. They are in commercial quantity before even drilling the wells. But
so in Kolomani and the rest, drilling is going on even in Obia and Ebelinia?
The drilling had been suspended. Let me tell you.
Why?
Yeah, they suspended part of number one. I can tell you that straight away. Number one is that the company they engage. Personally, I'm not comfortable that the company had the capacity to do what they were asked to do. So the first thing they did was they had a problem with the rig because it was an oil rig. So the wellhead actually even cut off. So they had to use what we call fishing. So they had to use a process of fishing that particular head that cut off and bringing it out. They ran across gas a little bit earlier. So they didn't go too deep before they experienced gas. So they needed to import water from so many other places to do that. So they had some challenges. And I don't believe that company had the capacity to be able to overcome those kind of challenges. Number two, they need the funding. So they need a lot of funding to do that. In fact, they had to demobilize a rig, actually, from Kolmani. And that's the rig they brought to Nasarawa State. And they now actually demobilized that rig also. So I'm sure probably, I don't know whether it is the same rig that is now in in Lake Chad.
So let me quickly, because I need to take you up quickly on the pricing of product, especially petrol. You see Dangote every day changing the prices, and I mean, that competition and that price war, what do you make of it?
It's not a price war. That's what you get when you go into the private sector, and when you get into effectiveness, when you get into productivity, efficiency, and the rest of that, and you don't have government wastages. We have spoken many times about the wastages in NMPC that made it very difficult actually to be able to get the 3 refineries ongoing in Kaduna, in Warri, in Port Harcourt. But everybody was thinking it's a joke. Now, a private refinery, the biggest one so far, with efficiency, that's one good thing that you have also with capacity. Because the refinery of Dangote in Lagos is bigger than the refineries in Port Harcourt, in Warri, in Kaduna, all put together. Because the 3 of them can do maybe just roughly about 450,000 barrels. Dangote can do 600,000 barrels a day. With new technology, brand new efficiency and everything. So when you have that, then you will be able to cut down. Dangote is not losing money. Remember, there is no way he will produce and lose money. So he is producing, he is in the market, and people are saying price war. It's not price war. It's efficiency. You want to take actually ownership of the market.
And so when there's a domination that you have when you have the capacity to.
Well, I don't know about domination,
let me take you quickly to politics.
No.
You today welcome Governor of Delta State of Warri, Sheriff of Warri, to your party. How does that feel?
Wonderful. It feels wonderful that you feel vindicated. We come in here many times to say that there are certain reforms that are going on that you have advantages and they are positive in nature, and they may have some difficulties in them. And then when you see other people, and there are so many of them, it's for some of us, sitting down with the governors every day will tell you that is just one out of so many. I had a joke earlier when you said there are so many that are leaving APC to go somewhere. Okay, I don't know those people, but the truth of the matter is it is the other way around. You have a lot of people who have shown interest, even among the governors, who are coming into APC. They are happy with that. When we are meeting with the president, you see the excitement among them. You see this, and you see the president going to Enugu to go and commission projects. You see him interested in what is happening in Rivers. You see him what is happening in Delta. You see him even more than some of the APC states. So those are the kinds of things that you see, and so the people are seen as being accepted by this president, and they like him. And for that reason, what are you going to expect?
So I understand that in your party you are expecting a few more governors, about 4 of them.
I don't know the number, but we are expecting.
This is a moment where there are a lot of people, your friends in the CPC, were said to be moving away from the APC. And that those who were still agitating and said they were going to leave the APC. What did you people tell them that make them to leave their party to come to yours?
I don't know who said he was leaving the APC.
There are agitation within the CPC block of the APC.
No. You see, that one, I think that's one thing that let me clear that subject, because I think there has been a lot of misunderstanding on that. 3 parties came together, big parties, including the APGA at the end, that came in to form the alliance. ACN was one, ANPP was one, and CPC had one governor from Nasarawa. And of course, later on, as you know, Okorocha came with APGA from that side to form. Now, some people within, some members of the CPC, some who were not happy with this government, some of them not happy for personal reasons, not for any development reason, not for any reason that is good for the nation, not for their own personal. I couldn't get what I want, therefore I'm leaving. Okay, have a safe trip. So there are people who say they are not leaving. Among all these people, I don't think there is a sitting governor, because there was only one governor on that CPC, and in Nasarawa. And today, we didn't have a CPC governor in Nasarawa, Tanko Al-Mukura. Okay? But today, he's not a governor.
So all of you are happy now?
About
staying in the CPC block?
I'm happy.
All right, we need to go now, but quickly, just in 30 seconds, and I'd like you to touch on the issue relating to the borders. That those who will say these borders have been porous for years. What do we do? Plus the fact that it seems the government is not really addressing this issue of with the kind of urgency that it needs when we're talking about the killings of Nigerians and how to stop them. And the question will be, when do you think we should start seeing the grazing facilities?
I think we should start seeing them because today, based on the meeting, in fact, the vice president and some selected state governors are going to go to Brazil in the month of May, I was told. Is it May or June? They are going to go. So that's when they are concluding on all this. And once they conclude, you know, it is not very difficult to set up a grazing reserve. It's not difficult. Nigeria is filled with grazing reserves. So it's just to go and bring it back to life. You know, which was exactly what we did in Nasarawa State. So I think it should come this year. If we are very serious about this and we are able to put all the funding together.
People are dying, and if there are efforts to stop the killings, why not take it now? That's the question.
Well, that's why they are taking it
Protect
now.
the borders that have been porous for years.
No. Protecting the borders is not going to happen like that. You know, these borders has been like that for and it's a long border. It's a border
technology solution, you're thinking about that?
Yeah, we're talking about technology. Technology is doing a lot. Even right now, you know, monitoring has been going on, but you can't be able to monitor the entire border.
All right.
Yeah. So,
Governor Abdullahi Sule, always a pleasure, and time is never enough to have conversations with you. Thank you so much. Always a pleasure having you.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate it. That's our show for tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Sean Kimale. God bless Nigeria.